In Japanese, the word JIKO has a dual nature. At once, it means self, the identity we hold within, but it also means accident. These two meanings are inseparable. Discovering who you actually are rarely happens in a vacuum. It arrives through collisions and struggles that shift your entire trajectory. For the woman in this story, the struggle begins with the label, Pariah Dan. It is the idea that she is someone else's wealth, a temporary guest in her father's house, waiting to be settled elsewhere. Society coats this reality in titles like queen or goddess, but it is a strange kind of royalty where every step, every laugh, and every dream is audited by those who claim to protect her. This is the logic of the golden cage. It uses the language of care and tradition to disguise a life of domestic servitude, convincing her that any desire for a life of her own is simply overthinking. The reality of this protection is physical. It is a cycle of cooking, cleaning, and sweeping, an existence where her exhaustion is dismissed as drama and her word is treated as noise. She begins to ask why her dreams must wait in the kitchen. She isn't looking for a handout. She wants an empire built by her own hands, with property that doesn't need a man's signature. When told her potential earnings are too small to matter, she sees the hypocrisy. She sees the seed used to build an empire. To her, every earned ruby is a note that screams independence. It is the material proof that she refused to wait for a man to feed her, and instead carved her own worth into the soil. This isn't a crime. It's a refusal to stay small. She is the fire society tried to drown in duty, and she is no longer asking for permission to burn. Society views this fire as destruction. They argue that these boundaries are not chains, but roots. Without them, they claim, a tree collapses, asserting that freedom without limits is just a way to destroy yourself. They frame the happy family as a masterpiece of coordination. The man earns, the woman serves, and the home remains warm. To break this balance is to let the heaven of the household collapse. They use the mother's sacrifice as the ultimate weight. They point to her wrinkled hands and her erased identity as proof of a dignity that the daughter is now betraying. The warning is clear. Unchecked ambition is a selfish poison. Society argues that by chasing her own name, she isn't just rising, she's burning down the very foundation that gave her life. But what tree survives if its roots strangle the trunk? The girl counters that if roots demand silence and suppression, they aren't nourishing the tree, they are just chains rusting in the dirt. She deconstructs the idea of shared sacrifice. In this world, the sacrifice is strictly gendered. Her dreams are always the first to be buried, so that the man's status can grow. She rejects the idea that age and scars equal wisdom if those scars only taught surrender. Why should she trust society's experience when they never let her collect her own? She refuses to be the silent pillar of a home that requires her suffocation to stand. If the walls are that fragile, she argues, then the home was already collapsing. If respect means submission and protection means prison, then she's ready to walk out. If heaven depends on her chains, she is content to let it burn to ash. A different sound cuts through this back and forth, the grounded laughter of two elders. They have lived through the storms the girl and society are still arguing about, and they see a different picture. The grandmother notes that truth is a river, not a single stone. In her eyes, the girl is not fully wrong, but society is not fully right. No one holds the entire answer. The grandfather speaks of a different kind of math. To him, a home isn't held together by decree, but by love doing arithmetic with patience, an exchange where both sides stand by each other when the money or the strength runs thin. Their lives suggest that bending is not the same as breaking. It can be a conscious choice to carry more out of mutual respect, rather than a sentence of forced slavery. They redefine harmony as something much more difficult than silence. It is the act of learning to walk together without stepping on the other person's shadow. This suggests that the bridge between individual freedom and family honor is something that has to be repaired every single day. It's a compromise that requires more strength than burning the bridge down. This resilience is found in the women who don't announce their strength, yet it echoes in everything they do. It lives in the unseen battles they choose to fight and the way they stand after every fall. This is the core of JIKO. You do not need permission to exist. Your fire wasn't meant to destroy your world, but to light a way forward that is finally, undeniably, your own.